All right, so this is our first live, well, not live, but no video podcast. So my name is Hannah, and this is Courtney. Say hello.
Hello.
We just got off the phone with Courtney's mom about the first time that she disassociated as a child, which is so crazy because I think all of us have been disassociating pretty hard in these times. So go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I was driving last night and I randomly just remembered the fact that I used to have these like episodes when I was younger that I was never able to like put a label on exactly. And like basically like I would say like I feel like I'm not real or I feel like I'm not here. And so I just kind of suppressed those memories for a while, and then I just rethought of them now. So I called my mom and my dad. And my dad didn't really remember them that much, but my mom like went in detail, and she remembers me basically doing it almost on a daily basis. And I also had a weird infatuation with like death. Like I was super
scared of dying,
and it was constantly like in the back of my head, and I would worry about going to sleep. And
I think the disassociating is interesting because when I do certain psychedelics, they make everything look, and it's so strange because it's hard to describe if you've never seen it, but they make everything look hyper real, so it's like a movie set. Like the leaves of the trees look almost plastic because they're just so brilliant, and I just feel like I'm not in reality. And we all disassociate, especially like I said during these times with like all the crazy shit that's going on in the world. Like life doesn't feel like reality, and like on a more, what's the word I'm looking for?
tangible.
Yeah, level. You know, when you're having a conversation and you're staring at the person and you're nodding and whatever, and it's not, you're not there. That's disassociating too. Like what? How were you disassociating that hard at that young of an age? That's crazy.
Well, I guess that was the question that really, like, that's what's sparking my curiosity now about, like, is it because when you're a child, like, you're more
in tune to the fifth dimension? So here's my theory, because I was thinking about it when you were on the phone. I've worked with a lot of kids, and, like, you see kids gap out. They haven't really said anything like that to me, but you would confide in your parents. So I'm wondering if a lot of parents dealt with this kind of behavior or this kind of thing, and they don't know how. Like, a spiritual mom would be like, oh, that's okay, honey, and, like, you know what I mean? Be able to ground them and bring them down to earth. But a mother that, like, is caught up in whatever discourse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Would have a hard time because they're having a hard time working through it themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like, the level of awareness isn't there, too. Well, I'm going to look it up, really, and just see if there's any, because this is, like, the first time I've even really acknowledged it out loud.
Yeah.
Because I never called it. Me and you always joke around about disassociating, but I never used to call it disassociating.
I know.
Like, I don't even know what they were. It was just these weird moments.
And, like, they pass it off as, like, a mental illness. But is it a mental illness? Or are you actually, like, traveling, like, up a dimension?
Well, the term mental illness has a certain, like, annotation or whatever the word is to it that is, like...
Well, it's like the that cycle that we talk about. So the problem is mental illness. So they give us drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like
so they've used something that could benefit us. Like, but these are all life lessons. If we hone into the dissociation, maybe we're astral projecting, but we'll never know because we're taking pills to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, exactly, just like any fix that they...
And that's why as a kid, you do it so hard because you're so pure and, like, you know what I mean? Like, remember when we were with Justin's kids and, like, even with Addison, like, when they get happy, their whole, like, body, because they're just pure. Exactly. They haven't been tainted by...
the flow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, when they're happy, it's just pure happiness.
Yeah. They, like, literally, like, physically shake and, like, can't get it. It's right cute.
I don't know where I was going with my train of thought.
Speaking of disassociating.
Yeah, I know. I'm just a lot to take in, I guess. I know. I do want to do a little bit of research on it because...
why that was happening to you.
Exactly, because it used to happen... I think maybe it always has... Oh my God, Jesus Christ. It always has happened.
Yeah.
But... my level of awareness to it, I think, might have faded through my teen years, or
sure.
like it just wasn't something.
Yeah, that you were honing into, or you were drinking a lot and maybe escaping it.
Yeah, well, it still happens, like, even in my adult years. Like, I still get it all the time, no matter
Well, no,
how
I
I'm
mean,
drinking.
like, you were...
I just didn't have that awareness there. I never, like, I didn't put awareness into that. Same with, like, this just made me think of this, another...
Well, your mom said that, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick, she would just change the subject when this would happen.
Yeah.
So, obviously, in your head, your taught and conditioned reaction to it was to sweep it under the rug and dismiss it, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, up until your adulthood, when you've had your spiritual awakening and realize that all these things have significance, now you explore it and now you remember it from your childhood. It's like when we were talking about how a kid is pure energy and everything that you put on it is like suppressing that energy.
Yeah. Oh,
and
like,
when they get to a certain age, they have to pull each thing off and see if it serves them or not.
Yes, it's
and that's like every single
behaviors.
ego death that you go through, really.
And there is basically like an ideology out there that is the whole point, is to like remember who you truly are and to like work through these barriers in life and like push yourself to become a better person, because every time you have an ego death, you come out a better, more wiser, more tolerable person. It's like when you unlearn, it's almost like you're set up in this world to learn these behaviors just to unlearn them, just to unlock who you really are.
It's interesting because every time you get a bit of information and we don't recognize these patterns, but we're starting to because you journal and so on. Every time we get a bit of information, our world is like, our mind is literally blown. So, this is such a fucking stupid connection. Anyway, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. No, I think it's the last one. Anyway, in one of them, he dies because he gets all of the knowledge of the world. So, can you imagine having every awakening and every realization happen to you at once? Like, you would have to die. So you're not, us as humans, we are not allowed to have all the information, but we're gathering it little by little along the way until we can descend, right?
Well, exactly.
And that goes into what's the one?
Wait.
What's the one where you I was a cat and now I'm a human, and then I'm going to be a different human?
You're talking about
reincarnation. So we're going to reincarnate potentially until we have all the information and we die.
Yeah, well, some people don't even open that door to the awakening. That's the issue. But that's why they need to reincarnate as a human
to try again. Yeah,
because you need to do that to transcend. Because as a human in this human form, we can't have all of that knowledge. We can't have that. We just are getting filtered through by our human senses.
That's why people say life's a simulation and like a quote-unquote video game, because that's the model of a video game.
Exactly.
But we in our simulation have modeled our little simulations on our TV after the simulation, and that's like ties into the Elon Musk and like the science side of things, which is fucked. This is disgusting.
Exactly.
But that's
what
I
mean, that everything connects on like that
crazy intense plane.
Yeah. Another example of do you remember that movie that we watched? It's a Stephen King, and like when they're running through the mazes, and when he touches that thing, he gets the knowledge of everything, and it kills them.
Yes.
What does it make him in? I don't even know.
I don't know. It fucks him right up though. I was thinking
you can't. I just feel like, you know what? An example is like how like dogs, like they can understand like a certain level, but then like there's only so much a dog they can understand. Like their level of consciousness appears to be at least.
And if they pass their little test as dogs and fulfill their purpose, which I think they all do, they get to ascend. Well, yeah, fair enough. They get to ascend to the next level. And then they become whatever is the next organism or being or flesh vessel. That they get to be in.
That is very interesting.
I am really sad that I can't recall my years as like a fucking cat or something.
I feel like I was
if we were to follow that model, it'd be interesting to know, is that what your spirit animal is? I have so many questions. This is why I hope someone is listening to this.
I know.
And can educate us, because that's a very... that was a lot more than just disassociating. I'm disassociating over that
conversation. I think disassociating for me, if I can try to articulate it, is like lifting the veil off reality. Like, it almost feels like you are just disconnected from the world around you. Like, it's almost like not a feeling of not belonging, but like just everything being like fake or like a ruse or something.
And when you're a kid, I always say this about kids too, you can tell a kid anything, but you have to put it on their level. It's like, but that's like an adult too. You can approach an adult with anything, but you have to tailor it to them specifically.
And their level of knowledge, which is hard to gauge with people, and that's something that we're trying to practice.
And when you were a kid, you were having a hard time articulating it because you're not saying, "Oh, the veil has been lifted." I feel as though my spirit is no longer in my vessel. Well, you're saying I don't feel like I'm here because that's what you know how to say, which is, oh my gosh.
Because we don't have that strength of vocabulary when we're children.
No, absolutely not.
I just thought of something else. I might call my mom up again because she will tell you this is kind of like embarrassing, I guess, in a sense. But like, you know how my mom and my dad both brought up my imaginary friends?
Yes.
Shout out Bugger and Day Day. Don't ask me where I got the names. It's just
that's
bizarre.
hilarious. I looked at the recording. 11:11.
Oh, wow.
That's disgusting. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, so I don't know like what mechanism is behind this, but I do remember vividly. I don't know if it's me having false memories, but I remember at times seeing things in the dark. It would have to be pitch black, but I could see
sister
little
would hallucinate
all the time. I remember like one time there was
wonder if I did, but I
just
like our parents probably don't talk about it. And then I just seen it because I had a little sister. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Hallucinations. Like, maybe that's like a common thing.
Well, I have those hypnagogic sleep hallucinations, which I don't know if that is something that I want to look into further, because I've seen it from like a more science view, but I want to look at it from like a spirituality.
It's interesting because, when we are talking about astral projecting, every time you go to sleep, you're putting yourself into that neutral state where you can be pulled or pull yourself into dimensions. When you're a child, you have so much reckless energy that you are getting pulled. That's why kids have such intense nightmares. That's why they, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
I physically seen things when I was younger.
Yes, that's why, though. That's because especially when you're sleeping, like that little... I don't know. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. I can't explain what I'm trying to say.
Remember how I told you about... I don't get them as much anymore, but I had one... recently, but I used to call them night terrors, but they're not night terrors. They're hypnagogic sleep hallucinations, and you are physically seeing things, and they are in the same realm that you experience sleep paralysis in. But it's like for a split second, it's normally I see spiders, bugs, I've seen drones, I've just seen things that are not describable, that are not there. Luckily, I've never seen beings. A lot of people see beings.
Ugh, I have a couple times.
Or I've seen like my fish swim outside of my fish tank before when I was a kid. I've had dreams
of that. That's one of the
reasons
reasons
I'm so scared. It's not even a dream. It was like I was fully awake. I used to see things, and then I used to have little, like, I could see little, it almost looked like there was a universe, like, in front of me in the darkness. Like, I could see little dots, and I would make like storylines with that, but then sometimes I would see full things. Like, I remember one time leaning over, I used to sleep in my parents' bed a lot, and I remember looking at the back behind the headboard, and there was like a little situation going on with these beings that weren't, but I wasn't scared. I was just like, it was just... I think I was, I don't know if I was the manifesting.
No, I think that you as a child, you probably have very psychic abilities, because I have different experiences as a child. You probably specifically are a psychic whatever, and you have suppressed it so hard. It's gone right now, but you need to find a mentor for that for sure, because I think that actually could be a fucking whole thing for you.
Did you see the Gem Goddess video? I didn't, like, I kind of put it on in the background, but like, she's talking about like unlocking psychic abilities, because I think the theory out there is that everyone has them, but we just suppress them. But everyone kind of you can
receive them in different ways too. Like, it sounds like you have like visions, where I didn't have visions. I had like strong like gut feelings. Like, I
had that too.
But and you could have more than one. I don't. And maybe there's other ones that I have no idea about because I haven't unlocked.
Well, look at us with the tarot.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
is incredible, and I feel like I'm getting better with it every time.
Yeah, and it's less. Yeah, you just read the card and you're like, oh yeah, okay, for sure.
Yeah,
I think that's just a matter of memorizing every card, which I mean, being a stoner, it makes it hard. But
yeah, exactly.
You get there. I gotta sneeze. I'm gonna put my over there. I love being allergic to my own animals. It's great.
Yeah, no, I don't. Then again, though, like you can look at it in that sense, but like I feel at the same time, there's probably a lot of explanations to what was going on, but they're almost like. I've never even really like spoke of it out loud. Like my parents know about my imaginary friends, and like kids have a crazy imagination. That's what everyone says. But like, what is that imagination? Because imagination is a manifestation. Like,
when does it go from a crazy imagination to like schizophrenic? Like, what would a doctor? So a spiritual person might tell you that you have suppressed psychic abilities, but a doctor might tell you that you have schizophrenic tendencies and you should stay away from XYZ and probably be on this drug for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And who do you want to believe? What's better for your mental health? But it's whatever you decide, like the ideology that you decide to subscribe to.
Yeah. Your reality is the only reality at the end of the day. It's manifestation,
and you can choose what to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel more peace. Like I've never felt more holy breather. I've never felt more at peace. Is that right?
Yep.
I'm disassociating right now. Oh, shit.
That's definitely a phrase that people use all the time. You're good. You went to say it right both times.
Yeah, anyway. Like, I just feel more comfort. And because I grew up atheist.
Yeah.
Well, not atheist. I was atheist, like, by my own accord. Like, I just, it wasn't really brought up. When I used to...
for sure.
Talk about dying a lot when I was younger. My mom would comfort me with the idea of God, but she wasn't religious either. She didn't even know much. Like, she would just kind of try to explain it to me. But
interesting, the people that did not grow up with a religion in their life, because I obviously did. And I have known pretty much people that did. Like, even Ryan went to Sunday school at points. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's mind-blowing to me.
I actually different life. This might be... Like, most of the people in my friend group, I don't think went to church.
I know. I think it might be a St. John thing. I think they're not really primarily.
Well, I mean, there is huge communities here that are into it.
Oh, absolutely. My cousin's husband, his dad has a church. I don't know. Out here. But yeah, I've been here before to his church, which is crazy. And she used to live right across the street right before we moved in. They moved to Bathurst.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Little New Brunswick small town fun facts for ya.
Oh, I lost my train of thought again. I
don't know. We're talking about how your reality is what you choose it to be. I guess what would a Christian tell you that they were you being possessed? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's people, like, what I'm trying to break down, like, the thing that I keep pondering when I keep saying everything's connected, or, like, the levels of understanding, like, there's different, like, facets of it, but it's, like, the same thing. Oh, my God, I'm gonna get lost.
It's like a domino effect.
In the translation here, but, like, what I'm trying to say is...
you need a t-shirt that says that straight up.
My catchphrase. Now I really lost it.
Sorry. Can I circle it back to parents that don't know about their kids' mental illnesses? I have a fun story.
Well, it's because it's whatever you grow up in. Like, there's different ways to describe mental illness, and there's different ways. This is what I'm trying to say. It's the same thing happening, but it's manifesting in different ways in different people's lives.
So here's my question. We broke down what you went through. I think the term for it would be dissociation. I'm gonna tell you about someone I know, and I have a little bit of an idea of what I would break them down as in each category, but I want to hear, and it's just an interesting story. Anyway, a lot of my friends are adopted. This friend in particular is adopted. We see each other once every so often, haven't seen this person in a long time. I'm not going to disclose their gender or where they're adopted from, because it was something told to me by my mom that was told to him, or told to her by his mom, that was it's not information for me to know, really. But he went through some things before he was adopted. I think something about being in a bag and like just crazy dark shit. And after he got adopted, he would go into these episodes that his parents would say he's going to the dark place. So when you think about it in a logical sense, a doctor would tell you he's having a PTSD episode. What would like a spiritual person say? They probably say you're a time traveler, but because you are so attached to that memory because it was so traumatic, that's where you keep on going. You're
gravitating
because you don't have control of your power yet.
Yes, yeah.
And like what a Christian would say, it's possession again, because the Christians love to just explain everything away with the devil.
But how it's the same thing that people are trying to articulate the same thing, but it depends on your setting and what you're brought up in, how your parents basically chose
what language you get.
What terminology you use for the same battle.
That's fucked up.
Yes, but that is in shout out to Poe, who we're chatting with last night. She was kind of saying something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like she was saying, like, and that's what I've been trying to describe. But it's almost like there's.
Well, I remember telling you this earlier, but when I was a kid, there was like a couple that lived in the same hallway as us, and they were from India as well. And I would play with their kid all the time, and like their parents were friends because my dad is Indian, and my parents were Christian and they were Hindu, and so of course my mom, like the moms would talk about religion, and she said to my mom that we all have the same God, we just worship him in different ways. And I remember her telling me that, and I don't know, that's just something that's stuck with me. And now I actually understand that. I came to that realization a couple days ago whenever I brought up that story before, and here we are tying something else into that, which is crazy.
Because it's I think the basis of what it ties into is, oh my god, I can't even it's hard for me to articulate.
You will be able to someday.
That's exactly, and we're leveling up like every time we're having a discussion like this.
This is so cool, because the podcast has really taught us that. Like when you sat there on your laptop the first day, and when I was sitting there in my notebook the first day trying to write stuff down and figure out what we were figuring out, it's like we could sit there for hours, and that's the point, because there's so many layers to unpack, and so many cycles to awaken yourself up to, and so many energy flows to jump yourself into alignment to. It's crazy.
Exactly. And it's like
life is not about working a 9 to 5
too.
fucking job.
I mean, it gets scary, but like it pays off, because like I feel more aligned than I ever have. Like,
me too, for
and
sure.
every time that I'm having like a down now, like when I go through my little spurts because it happens.
Of course.
Everyone struggles with it, I think, but like I always come out stronger on the other side. Like, look how much like I've grown in the last little. Like I had a couple days where I was like absolutely fucking miserable, but I feel like I needed everything that happened to like truly happen for a reason, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, they're all ego deaths. They're all like, whether they're big or small, they come in different sizes. Like sometimes it's just like a little hurt feeling because someone pricked your ego, and now you have that realization of
just feel like the way that I've been approaching like external circumstances are a lot better. Like the way that I react to things that used to trigger me. Like I still am getting worked up in the moment, but I feel like in social situations or like the way my outlook on everything is better. And I mean, sometimes there is like a hint of existentialism or whatever they call it, but like it's moments like this where really it all comes together, and I do feel sane, and I feel like we're gonna get through this, and I enjoy living in the moment more. Like that's all it really comes down to, is just being here and now, and we're exactly where we need to be, and that is what it is. We don't need to live in the future or the past, and just kind of
everything is happening all at once anyway, so manifest what you want and it will
be. And we are, and it's crazy. And, like, it's because once you get that momentum going, like, it's through the roof right now for us. Like, everything is
the volume on this bus is astronomical in every sense of the fucking term, honestly. Yeah. Oh, well, that was a good discussion. I don't know. How long was it? We could leave it at that, or I could pull up another subject for us to touch on. It was 24 minutes. That was like the length of our last one, no?
Yeah.
That was a decent piece. Did you guys like it? Please let us know on YouTube. We are the Eureka Effect podcast there. And then obviously this will be posted on Podbean, which is the Eureka Effect. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can also find us on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I think it's the Eureka Effect, or Eureka Effect podcast. I'm not sure. You'll have to look it up, but please do.
It's the Eureka Effect podcast.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah. Almost sure on that.
One day we'll have this like flow out, so we'll like spit it out like James Charles.
Yeah.
It'll be like bars, but until then, bear with us.
All right. Well, it's been real, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
I love you guys. Bye.